Some of the Cardinals' top prospects took home some big-time hardware. So are things really as bleak as fans make it seem? We'll talk about it on today's episode of Locked On Cardinals.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily St. Louis Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, Cardinals fans. I'm JD Hafford, and I'm a national radio sports anchor born and raised in the Lou and a lifetime Cardinals fan. And I'm your host for Locked On Cardinals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. You can follow me on Twitter, X at JD Sports Radio, as well as the podcast at LO_Cardinals. Want to thank those of you who make Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find us on YouTube. This is a show serving Cardinal Nation and giving the best fans in baseball all of the info about the birds on the bat. Today's episode brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.com, Booking.yeah. The right stay can make you a fan of any city, even your baseball rivals. Book today on Booking.com, the official accommodation partner of Major League Baseball. Get the Booking.com app today. So the Cardinals pick up yet another victory. Another victory on Tuesday night in Colorado. They knock off the Rockies by a score of 7-3. The team rallied back with a lot of the youthful members of this current roster leading the charge, which was really great to see. We're going to talk more about the night that Masyn, Winn, and Michael McGreevy had a little bit later in today's episode. But I wanted to start today with some news about some guys who are not on this team, at least not yet. Maybe next year, maybe the year after that. But if things go well, you might see a number of these guys in a Cardinal uniform in 2025. And the two names that I want to bring up to really focus on here today is that of left-handed pitcher Quinn Mathews and catcher Jimmy Crooks. So let's start with Quinn Mathews, who, if you're an everydayer, you've heard me talk about Quinn Mathews before, you should be familiar with him. If not, he's a guy that has skyrocketed up baseball prospect rankings this year, and for good reason. He's just been absolutely electric since the beginning of the season, and his work did not go unnoticed. He ends up snagging Baseball America's Pitcher of the Year award here in 2024. Fourth-round draft pick out of Stanford in 2023. He's gone from A-ball. This is all in one season, by the way. A-ball to high A, then to double A, then to triple A, all in one season. All in one season. Not something that happens very often. Over the course of the year, he has compiled an 8-5 record. He's got a 2.76 ERA, 202 strikeouts over 143 and a third innings pitched, and he dominated at the first three levels that he was at here in 2024. At Palm Beach, he makes 6 starts, going 3-1, 1.47 ERA, 52 Ks, 30 and 2/3 innings. The whip at 0.8115, which is great because that means not only is he not giving up hits, but he's not walking people, right? He's not just putting people on. At High A Peoria, he gets 7 starts. He goes 3-1, 2.68 ERA, 58 Ks, and 43 and 2/3 innings. The whip actually goes down, 0.56. Ends up getting promoted to Double A Springfield, which is where he ends up winning the Pitcher of the Year award for his performance at Double A Springfield. Makes 9 starts, goes 2-1, 2.41 ERA, 70 Ks, 52 and a third innings, and a 0.955 whip. So just at those 3 levels, he goes a combined 8-3, 2.27 ERA. The opponents are hitting 165 against him. Strikes at 180 hitters over 126 and 2/3 innings. You kidding me? 0.853 whip. The strikeouts per 9, almost 13 per game. Just bonkers. Bonkers stats right there. Now, things did get a little tougher for him when he got to AAA Memphis. 4 starts. He's 0-2, 6.48 ERA. Opponent's batting average goes up to 281 against him. He still strikes out people. 22 hitters in 16 and 2/3 innings. That's a strikeouts per 9 of 11.9. Nothing to sneeze at. But the walks, the hits were up. The whip jumps to 1.920. But this is the toughest level of minor league ball that you get before you make it to the big leagues. What he did at those other levels, incredible. Incredible. And perhaps, I'm not going to just come up with excuses of why things went a little bit tougher for him in Memphis, but maybe he hit a little bit of a wall at this point of the season. His highest amount of games that he had started in a season, while at Stanford was 19, and he's made 26 starts in 2024 in his first year of pro baseball, threw about 20 more innings as well than he ever had in one season at Stanford. So that could be a reason. It could be a little bit of fatigue. You know, he's been moving around, going from different levels throughout the organization. So going to cut him a little bit of slack that he didn't come up and just dominate AAA. According to Daniel Guerrero at the STLtoday.com or St. Louis Post-Dispatch as well, Mathews becomes the first Cardinals prospect to win this award and the first Cardinals prospect to win one of Baseball America's top year-end honors since Rick Ankiel was Baseball America's minor league player of the year back in 1999. The 200 strikeouts made Mathews the 10th player in Cardinals minor league history to reach 200 or more strikeouts, and just the second minor league pitcher since 2011 to accomplish that feat. The last pitcher to reach 200 Ks in a season was right-hander Brandon Pfaadt, who struck out 218 hitters during the 2022 season in the Arizona Diamondbacks system, and he is a part of their rotation right now as they continue to fight for a playoff spot in the National League. MLB Pipeline has got Mathews as their number 80 overall prospect in baseball. I have a feeling that is going to go up at some point, especially leading into 2025. But he may be 80 overall, which is counting pitchers and hitters, but he's the number 4 rated left-handed pitcher in all of baseball, and number 3 in the Cardinals system behind this year's top pick, J.J. Weatherholt, and right-handed pitcher Tink Hence, who we're going to talk about in a little bit as well. So the future, pretty bright for Mathews. And, you know, I'm sure when you talk about what is his impact going to be on a Cardinals roster one day, that he's going to get an invite to spring training for 2025. And he's 23 right now. He'll be 24 next month. If he dominates in the spring, I'm not saying just do well, because if he just does okay, depending on who's left on the roster, he's probably going to go start things off in Memphis. But if he dominates in the spring and comes out just tearing people up, I don't know how you don't have him up in part of your rotation sooner rather than later in 2025. Really, the one thing that, like I said, that would be holding him back is just a numbers game of what's available as far as the rotation goes. You know, as of right now, under contract, you've got Sonny Gray, Eric Fetty, Miles Michaelis, Steven Matz, Andre Palante, Michael McGreevy, another guy we'll talk about a little bit later. You've still got the options available for Gibson and Len. All of these people are already in the rotation. So let's pretend that there is no Gibson and Len. Let's say they don't pick up the options. They let them walk. You still got Gray, Fetty, Michaelis, Matz, Palante, and McGreevy ready to start. So barring any trades, you know, there's a full house there, unless Matz goes to the bullpen full time, which I suppose is a possibility. But do the Cardinals seem like a team that is going to pay $11 million for Matz and then just ship him into the pen? It seems like they'll give him a chance to start again. But the bottom line is fans should be excited about Quinn Mathews. You should be. You should be excited about it. And I know last time we had a pitcher like this in the system and we got excited about him, his name was Alex Reyes, and injuries destroyed his career, right? Became an all-star as a closer, but injuries destroyed him. There's always a risk, right? But don't let it hold you back. Be excited about Quinn Mathews. Be excited about it. He's also up for the Minor League Baseball Pitching Prospect of the Year. That award announcement will take place on the 30th. So there's a possibility that he wins even more hardware here in the very near future. The AA Springfield squad as a whole had a huge year. And at the top of the list of award winners was not only Quinn Mathews, but also catcher Jimmy Crooks and pitcher Tink Hence. We're going to talk about them more next on Locked On Cardinals. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah. Explore those U.S. cities you always secretly wanted to learn more about, whether it's places like New York, Boston, Vegas, Miami, San Diego, L.A., Nashville, Kansas City. These are all great places. Some of my favorites in the U.S. to visit, with hotels, bed and breakfast, vacation rentals, resorts, and so much more on Booking.com. You might find your perfect stay even in your baseball rival cities like Chicago and Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, Milwaukee. Colorado right now. It was a beautiful night in Colorado, right? Like, I wish I had been there. San Francisco, one of the best ballparks in all of baseball. You can go visit them during the last series there. Booking.com delivers exactly the right U.S. stay for you. Booking.com can help you book a stay that's close to your home teams or a rival stadium. No matter what team you're rooting for in this postseason, of the people who will be remaining, Booking.com can make you a fan of any U.S. city. From hotels that overlook stadiums to family-friendly resorts to cute bed and breakfast stays, which I know the significant other would love, Booking.com has so many choices across the United States. It's the right stay, and it can make you a fan of any U.S. city. And Booking.com will help you there. Even your baseball rival cities. Booking.com, Booking.yeah. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. You know, sometimes you'll be watching a game and you can just kind of sense a trend happening. You get what we call a hunch, right? And it's something that, you know, you're like, I'm kind of feeling this. I'm kind of feeling this. Perhaps some piece of information just became available and you're like, ooh, maybe, just maybe I should take a look at that. Well, now you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the exact same page where you place your bets. Very convenient. Thursday night football tomorrow night has got the Cowboys at the Giants. Currently, FanDuel has Dallas as 5.5-point favorites. They're 1-2. They got shellacked by the Saints. They were getting crushed by Baltimore before they made that comeback that made it seem a little bit closer than that game really was. Could be a long night on the ground for the Giants running game. Or I shouldn't say a long night. It's a long night for the Cowboys, but a big night for the Giants running game. Devin Singletary, I mean, the Cowboys are dead last in the NFL in rushing yards against. Maybe Daniel Jones and Singletary and company are able to keep it on the ground, chew that clock, and pull out a victory. It's something I would look into. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets. That's guaranteed, by the way, when you place your first $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet at FanDuel.com. That's FanDuel.com. Thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen today. For your second listen, enjoy the Locked On MLB podcast with our friend Sully, who is here daily to provide national expertise with his trademark humor. Prepare for the Fall Classic with him every single day on Locked On MLB, available on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So the Cardinals, catching-wise, will have Wilson Contreras, Ivan Herrera, and Pedro Pagés as their top three guys, right, going into 2025, barring any trades, which could happen. So there's no real rush at the moment to bring another catcher up to the big leagues. And I say at this moment because if one of those guys does get moved, or the Cardinals end up moving on from, I mean, out of the three, who's got the most trade possibilities there? Probably Ivan Herrera, right? Because he's a pretty good hitting catcher, has looked good at the plate so far this year. The Cardinals clearly seem very comfortable with Pedro Pagés behind the plate and letting him hit. Has had some big clutch hits this year. So maybe Ivan Herrera is part of a package to go get other needs for the team in 2025. I'm not saying it will happen, but I'm saying it could happen. And if it does, then the name of Jimmy Crooks would be the reason why the Cardinals would feel kind of comfortable doing that, because Mr. Crooks just won himself the Texas League MVP award at AA Springfield. Yes, it is the same award that our buddy Thomas Ajacey, Mr. No Batting Gloves, Thomas Ajacey, won last year. Crooks, like Quinn Mathews, is a former fourth-round pick. They took him in 2022, so a year earlier than Mathews. Took him out of Oklahoma, spent 2022 at A-ball. 2023, he was at High A Peoria, where he hit .271 with 12 dingers and 73 ribbies in 114 games. Also played in the Arizona Fall League that year as well. Then this year, he's at AA Springfield, where he just lights it up. He goes off, guys, hitting .321, 11 home runs, 62 RBIs in just 90 games. 908 OPS led all Class AA hitters who had a minimum of 350 plate appearances, set career highs in batting average, on-base percentage at .410, and slugging percentage at .498. Cardinals could use some offense, right? It doesn't matter where it's coming from. Clearly, this guy can hit. But not only is he a good hitter, Guerrero also pointed out that he set a career high in caught stealing percentage at 24% this past season. Now, on Baseball Reference, I kind of was going through Crooks' stats. They got him down as 33%. So I don't know where the discrepancy is there because that's a big deal, 24 to 33. The bottom line is, whichever number it is, it's still much better than what the Cardinals had behind the plate this year as far as throwing out runners. They have a miserable caught stealing percentage of just 16%. 16. That is ahead of only two other teams in Major League Baseball, the Rangers and the Pirates. It has been a huge problem. A huge problem. And I'm not putting all the blame on the catchers because obviously as a pitcher, you have to be able to hold runners on. That's part of it. They've obviously made stealing bases easier this year, but my God, it's been a serious issue. It's infuriating watching these guys get walks and then get a triple out of it. The Cardinals have given up a league-high 152 stolen bases this year. That's absurd. That's absurd. They've only thrown out 28. Just terrible. So they're going to have to work on something, whether it's and Wilson Contreras obviously not being behind the plate for a lot of the season with the injury. He was actually doing a pretty good job, much better than things have worked out for Herrera and Pages behind there as far as throwing guys out. So that's a part of it. I understand that, but they got to improve that part of the game big time. And Crooks apparently has got the arm and is good enough to throw runners out at a better percentage than the guys you've got right now. He becomes the 6th Texas League MVP in Springfield franchise history, the 3rd Springfield Cardinal to win the award in the last 3 seasons. Thomas J.C. last year. Moises Gomez won in 2022. Where are you, Moises Gomez? Dylan Carlson got it in 2019. The late great Oscar Taveras in 2012. Matt Adams, who just retired in 2011. Are the other prospects who have won that award. Also, some love to Tink Hence. Our guy Tink Hence wins the Texas League Pitcher of the Year award. He went 4-3 with a 2.71 ERA, struck out 109 batters, which is a single season career high in 79 2/3 innings. And you got to remember, too, he did miss some time this year, a little over a month with fatigue and back discomfort. In fact, I believe that he left his last start with an injury issue of some sort. We haven't seen any information about what was going on, but, you're hoping for good things there. He's the 2nd Springfield Cardinal to win the award. The only other Cardinals prospect to do so, Dakota Hudson, back in 2017. So Mathews, Crooks, and Hence all together named Texas League All-Stars, along with their closer, Mats Svanson, who they got him for Paul DeJong. That was the trade with the Toronto Blue Jays. There were so many trades with the Blue Jays. I'm like, hold on, which one was it? But Svanson was part of that Paul DeJong deal, I believe. This year he had 27 saves, 27 for 27, 2.69 ERA and 63 2/3 innings. The Cardinals are always looking for more relievers. So Mats Svanson going up as far as what maybe he can do for the team. Maybe next year, again, this is AA where these guys are at. So, if he dominates at AAA and is doing some of the same things, then yeah, why wouldn't you think about using him as somebody in your bullpen? These guys aren't kids either. We're not talking about 18 and 19 years old. We're talking about, Hence is young, obviously, but a lot of these guys that are on these rosters, they could make an impact next year, 23 years old, 24 years old. So, and a shout out as well to their manager, Jose Lajer, 4th season in the organization I shouldn't say in the organization, but 4th season with the Springfield Cardinals as their manager, ends up getting Manager of the Year award, which is great. Got them to the postseason for a 2nd consecutive year. They won a franchise record 79 games. They were 20 games above 500. We know how important coaching and managing can be. And we've had some good ones that have left the Cardinals organization recently, and guys like Skip Schumacher and Mike Schilt. So, to have another guy coming up that maybe plays a role in what the Cardinals do in the future, that's great. Class Low A Palm Beach manager Gary Kendall also won the Florida State League title, was named the Florida State League Manager of the Year this year. So you got a couple managers there with some hardware this year. So all of these players combined with how good J.J. Weatherholt has been since he got drafted, the improvements of 2023 first-round pick Chase Davis, plus, what you've seen so far from Thomas J.C., Luke and Baker, who's on paternity leave right now, which is why Victor Scott was up yesterday. Victor Scott. Victor Scott the second, another youngster. You've still got Nolan Gorman. Guys like Matt Koperniak. I get that he's 26 years old, which is old for a prospect. But he had a huge year in Memphis. 309, 20 homers, 73 RBIs. Can he be a bench bat? Like if you end up trading somebody like a Lars Nootbaar or something to go help out in other areas. Why not a Matt Koperniak coming off your bench? Like what has he done that says, hey, I can't hit major league pitching. I'm only good down here. You know, it's kind of what was happening with Luke and Baker. Crushes AAA. Didn't really get much of an opportunity at the major league level, but we've seen him and what he can do against lefties this year. So why not giving Matt Koperniak a chance in the outfield as, one of those fifth or sixth outfielders? Why not? You got guys like Connor Thomas, who had a good year in the bullpen, left-hander at AAA. Zach Thompson is still around. Gordon Graceffo, Cooper Jerpy, Ian Bedell. You know, there's some names here that could provide the team with some depth for next season and beyond. And moving forward, if the payroll does come down, which is what a lot of people are expecting, you're going to need some of these younger guys who are under control, not making a lot of money, to step up and be a bigger part of your major league roster next year, probably. So these are some of the names to keep in the back of your mind and some of the reasons why maybe things aren't quite as bleak as everybody makes it sound when it comes to the prospect pool that the Cardinals have right now and how quickly they can turn these things around and get back into playoff contention. Now, last night, we also got to see more of the future on display at Coors Field as the boys took down the Rockies. We can talk about that game next on Locked On Cardinals. Now that the season is winding down, we know we don't have any home games left for the Cardinals, but, there are still MLB games going on out there, and you can go watch them at different stadiums, and Game Time is the place you need to be going when you want tickets. They're an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, and they make getting your tickets faster and easier. You can save up to 60% off buying last-minute tickets for all sports. Doesn't have to just be baseball. Obviously, college football is in full effect. I was looking on the Game Time app just the other day, thinking about going down to Louisville. Check out my Miami Hurricanes when they play Louisville here in a couple of weeks. My Hurricanes look good. But obviously, NFL tickets, college football, we got concerts, we got comedy, we got theater, college basketball is going to be firing up here very, very soon. They've got you covered, man. Flash deals, save even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game or the event. You get the all-in pricing, which is great, so there's no secret fees there. You get the lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 100 to 10% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying your MLB tickets and tickets to all of the events that you want to go to with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONMLB. That's LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Once again, thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen today. Be sure to check out Locked On MLB. Prepare for the Fall Classic with Sully. Has you covered every single day. You can find the link to Locked On MLB in the description. That way you don't have to go searching for it. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. How about, talking about the playoffs coming up, the Padres triple play to end the game last night to clinch a playoff spot. Man, I'm rooting for them, dude. They're a fun team to watch, man. Let's root for Mike Schilt Company out west. That's where I'm at. Cardinals out west as well. Last night, they ended up winning 7-3. Let's go ahead and start with Michael McGreevy, who once again, he looks the part, you guys. He looks the part. Like, he looks like somebody who deserves a crack at the rotation next year. I know 2 starts, 3 total appearances. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, but I don't know what he's done that would disappoint you so far. He certainly can make someone like Miles friggin' Michaelis more expendable if they can find a trade partner and be willing to eat enough money to move on from Miles Mikolas. I mean, is there anybody out there that really would rather see Miles Mikolas pitch every day than Michael McGreevy or Andre Palante? You really want to see Mikolas instead? Like, do we not know what we've had in Mikolas? Isn't it time to move on a little bit? So we'll see how it goes. But I was very impressed once again from Michael McGreevy last night. Was just cruising right along, gave up the one solo home run, but caught a tough break in that fifth inning when he's 1 out away from getting out of that jam where it was first and second and nobody out. And the number 9 hitter, Shunk, who hit the home run off him earlier, hits a swinging bunt down the third baseline. No play at first, nothing that Arenado could have done. Ends up scoring the runner from third. You saw the reaction from McGreevy, too, after it happened, where he said a bad word and just laughed. He was just like, I mean, what are you going to do? Makes a great pitch, jams him, gets inside, and the guy just fists it down the third baseline. I mean, tough luck. And then you get Charlie Blackmon because the lineup turns over, and here comes Blackmon, who, you know, has been a superstar veteran for a long time, rips one to center field, misjudged a bit by Michael Ciani. You don't see that very often, where he thought he was going to be able to get over to cut it off and catch it, and then it just ends up continuing to skyrocket over his head. Ends up being a triple there. So you get some bad luck, and then you get that play, and that makes it 3-2, which takes him out of the capabilities of getting a win in the game, because he's taken out after that. But 5 innings, 4 hits, 5 strikeouts at Coors Field. I mean, I'll take that all day, every day, wouldn't you? Offensively, it was a huge night for Masyn Winn, who we found out actually tweaked his triceps in batting practice beforehand. So there was a chance, that was Derek Gould that had tweeted that out. And there was certainly a chance that he wasn't going to play, that he was going to be a late scratch. But instead, he ends up staying in the lineup and has one of his best nights of the year. Goes 2 for 4, 15 home runs, career high, 4 RBIs. The inning that stood out to me, 8th inning. That was the most impressive one. You get the leadoff opposite field single by Nolan Arenado, who I know it sucks that you're not getting power out of Nolan Arenado anymore, but they're not pitching him to where he can hit the home runs. And so he's doing what he can, and he's just taking them to right field. You know, I mean, if he's going to have less home runs, but still hit 280, 285 by taking the ball to the opposite field, what are you going to do? I mean, there's not much you can do. So, but he pops another one into right field, opposite field single. Next 2 guys are outs, but then Lars Nootbaar has a great at-bat, works a 2-out walk. He had 3 of those on the night, 3 walks for Nootbaar. Then you get 3 consecutive hits by 3 of the guys that you're hoping are going to lead this team next year, and Jordan Walker, Victor Scott II, and then Masyn Winn again. Walker ropes that ball to left for the RBI single. Victor Scott II sneaks one through the hole between first and second. Ends up on the throw home. They try to get Nootbaar at home. Safe at the plate. Great speed by Scott. Moves up to second and third. And that brings in Masyn Winn, who just bloops one down the line in right field. And just like that, you got a 7-3 ball game. And Winn's home run that he had hit earlier in the game to give the Cardinals the lead at the beginning, 2-0 lead, ended up being his 150th hit of the season. It becomes just the 4th rookie since 1957 to reach that total for the Cardinals, joining, you might have heard of these guys, Bake McBride. I don't know who that is, but I know who Albert Pujols is, and I know who Vince Coleman is. Kind of a big deal. So congratulations to Masyn Winn on hitting that mark. You know, seeing the young guys on the team coupled with Arenado and Nootbaar in that inning coming through in the clutch, it put a smile on my face. You know, it gives you a little bit of hope that this team in 2025 will have enough offensively to be better than they were this year. Because when you look at the season as a whole, bullpen, very, very good. They did their jobs. The starting rotation, for the most part, wasn't that bad. Sure, you would like improvements on some of the people in there, but it wasn't like they just got killed all year long. Offense is where the problem really was, because you expected them to be better than they were. And you're hoping that these are the guys, along with, you know, Pedro Pajes and Ivan Herrera and Thomas Ajayci, you're hoping that this grouping of people who more than likely are going to be on this roster next year, along with a guy like a Brendan Donovan and an Alec Burleson, that they are able to be a better offensive team in 2025, because they all of them as a whole got to take that next step. And that's what you're hoping for. A couple of them are probably not going to go there. Nature of the beast, but you need a substantial amount of them to become solid major league players quickly for 2025 if you expect to be playoff competitive, especially again if you're cutting this payroll, because you're not going to go out and buy any of these guys to fix it. So you got to rely on the people within your organization. Bullpen wise last night, after McGreevy, you had John King and Andrew Kittredge. They put up zeros. Matthew Liberatore worked his way out of that first and third nobody out situation against the heart of the Rockies order in the 8th inning, which was awesome. And then Ryan Fernandez finished it up in the 9th inning. The Rockies aren't a good team. They had that ridiculous rundown blunder in, what was that, the 6th inning, I think is when that happened, 6th or 7th, one of the two, where the Cardinals were able to tie it up at 3. So I'm not trying to blow it out of proportion like, oh my God, look how amazing these guys all are. But at the same time, you get the win. It's a major league game. Your younger guys were a big part of it. And that's kind of a big deal as far as the growing process as you wrap up this season and prepare for next year. The Cardinals get to 80 wins now? Is that where we're at? I think that's where they got to. Let me double check. So I don't want to get you false information out of all of this. But I believe that's what we got to. Yeah, 80-77. So 80-77 now. They're 3 wins away, or 4 wins away from making into my prediction, which was 84 wins this year. Still got to face the Rockies. Still got to face the Giants. Got Eric Fetty on the mound tonight. Been a disappointment since the trade. 1-5, 4.07 ERA. He'll go up against former Cardinal Austin Gomber, who's 5-11, 4.67 ERA. Cardinals hit him pretty good back in St. Louis, back in June. He's 1-4 at Coors Field this year. The ERA is closer to 5. So hopefully more offense to come tonight. And you'll have all the right-handed bats in the lineup, at least as many as they can get. It's a bummer Lucan Baker on paternity leave. I mean, congratulations to you, Lucan. But at the same time, it would have been nice to see Lucan Baker in a lineup tonight at Coors Field. Like, can you imagine how far a ball could go off Lucan Baker's bat at Coors Field? Would love to see it. But sadly, will not happen. Thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. If you haven't already, give me a follow on Twitter X at @LO_Cardinals and at JD Sports Radio. Like, subscribe on YouTube. Help our channel and our love for the Cardinals grow. You guys are the best fans in baseball for a reason, and I will see you next time on Locked On Cardinals. Have a good one, everyone.